My husband didn't know the baby monitor was still streaming when I left for my night shift at the hospital. I kissed my little girl goodnight, her curls soft against my cheek, and thought that was the hardest part of my evening. I was wrong. Sitting in my car before heading inside, I opened the baby monitor app just to check on her. But Maya wasn't alone. My husband Aiden stood in her doorway, whispering into his phone. "She just left. We've got 8 hours. The insurance is $2 million. Nobody will suspect a thing." My stomach dropped. I turned up the volume. "You sure about the dosage?" he asked. A woman's voice replied, calm and confident. "I'm a pharmacist, remember? 20 milligrams in her morning coffee. She'll think it's just a migraine. By the time she realizes, her organs will already be shutting down." My husband laughed, actually laughed. "What about my daughter?" he said. "She gets the trust fund," the woman purred. My fingers trembled as I hit record. I couldn't breathe, couldn't blink. I had to do something. My voice barely worked as I called 911. "My name is Kira Williams. I think my husband is planning to kill me. I have proof. He's in my house right now." Kira Williams, a 32-year-old nurse, lives a busy life balancing exhausting night shifts at the hospital, a distant husband, and their 3-year-old daughter, Maya. The story opens on a quiet evening. Kira kisses Maya goodnight before heading out for her shift. Her husband, Aiden, barely looks up from his phone to acknowledge her. Their marriage feels cold. Two strangers sharing a roof, bound only by responsibility. Still, Kira holds on to the fragments of their family, pushing through her fatigue for her daughter's sake. Driving to work, Kira's phone buzzes. The baby monitor app notification she gets every night. She'd installed a smart monitor months ago to check on Maya remotely during her breaks. It brought her peace of mind. But tonight, that same device becomes her worst nightmare. In the hospital parking garage, before walking in, Kira opens the app to see her baby asleep. Instead, she sees Aiden standing in Maya's doorway, speaking softly into his phone. She adjusts the volume and freezes as she hears the words that change her life forever. "She just left. We've got 8 hours. The insurance policy is $2 million. Nobody will suspect a thing." A woman's voice answers, calm and professional. 20 milligrams in her coffee will do it. She'll think it's just a migraine. By the time she realizes, her organs will already be shutting down. Kira's world tilts. Her hands shake so badly she can barely hold her phone. Her husband, her child's father, is planning to poison her. Her instincts kick in. She hits record. Her nursing training tells her to document everything. She listens as the woman calls him baby and refers to their upcoming trip to Bali, a trip planned for after the funeral. Kira feels sick. Her heart pounds as she realizes her life insurance policy, her habits, her morning coffee, everything has been turned into a weapon. Fighting panic, Kira dials 911. Her voice is low but steady as she tells the dispatcher, "My name is Kira Williams. I'm a nurse at County General. My husband is planning to kill me. He's in my house right now with my daughter." The dispatcher's tone shifts instantly. "Stay on the line. Units are being dispatched. Can you send us the recording?" Kira forwards it, tears streaming down her face. Through the monitor, she watches Aiden move through the house, still talking on the phone. Police sirens remain silent, a stealth approach. Moments later, the front door bursts open. Officers flood in, guns drawn. Aiden looks shocked, confused, his hands rising as he stammers, "What's happening?" Kira watches through the camera as they arrest him for a conspiracy to commit murder. Her baby wakes up crying. A female officer rushes in to comfort Maya, whispering, "Mommy's coming soon." Back at home hours later, Kira gives her statement to Detective Rodriguez, a seasoned investigator who listens with empathy. The detective promises justice. In the days that follow, more horrors unravel. Investigators uncover an affair between Aiden and a pharmacist named Simone Powell. They find a hidden apartment Aiden has been renting for over a year, financial records draining Kira's income into offshore accounts, and multiple life insurance policies. He forged her signature on. Then comes the worst discovery. The death of Kira's mother last year wasn't a stroke as MIA thought. A toxicology report reveals potassium chloride poisoning, a drug Simone had access to. Her mother's death was Aiden's practice run. The story climaxes in court. Kira faces Aiden and Simone as prosecutors reveal the baby monitor recording, bank statements, and text messages filled with plans and mockery. The verdict is guilty. Aiden is sentenced to life without parole. Simone gets 30 years. In the aftermath, Kira sells her home, moves across the country with Maya and her sister Tasha, and begins to heal. She reflects that sometimes survival isn't about strength. It's about believing what you see and acting before it's too late. Kira ends her story saying, "That baby monitor didn't just show me the truth, it saved my life." The night begins like every other for Kira Williams. A dedicated nurse and exhausted mother, she moves quietly through her dimly lit house, careful not to wake her 3-year-old daughter Maya, sleeping peacefully beneath a blanket of chocolate curls. Her husband Aiden lounges on the couch, scrolling through his phone without a glance up. Their marriage has become routine. Distant, cold, defined more by habit than love. Still, Kira tries. Bills need paying, and her husband's business ventures never quite cover expenses. Before leaving, Kira kisses Maya's forehead, whispering promises to be home in the morning. The weight of guilt and fatigue follows her out the door. She starts her car, her phone buzzing with a familiar alert, the baby monitor app's nightly notification. A small comfort she's relied on for months. At the hospital parking lot, Kira pauses, opening the app. The live feed flickers. She expects to see her daughter's tiny form sleeping. Instead, she sees Aiden standing in Maya's doorway, whispering into his phone. "She just left," he says. "We've got 8 hours, baby. Tonight's the night." Kira frowns, assuming it's a work call, until the next sentence chills her blood. "The insurance policy's $2 million. Nobody will suspect a thing." A woman's voice answers smoothly. 20 milligrams in her coffee. Tasteless, fast-acting, she'll think it's a migraine until her organs fail. Kira's heart stops. She stares at the screen, frozen between disbelief and terror. Her husband is planning to kill her, and his mistress is giving him instructions. Her hand trembles as she hits record on the app. Aiden's tone is casual. "What about Maya?" he asks. "She gets the trust fund," the woman purrs. "We get Bali, win-win." They laugh. The sound makes Kira's stomach twist. She realizes she's not just overhearing betrayal, she's hearing a murder plan in real time. Fighting panic, Kira dials 911. Her training as a nurse keeps her calm enough to speak clearly. "My name is Kira Williams. I'm a Tyrsek County General. My husband is in my house right now planning to poison me. My baby is inside. I have proof from my baby monitor." The dispatcher's tone turns sharp and serious. "Stay on the line, ma'am. Units are on the way." "Send the recording." Kira forwards it instantly, never looking away from the screen. Aiden moves into the living room, still talking. "Tomorrow at 6, I'll make her a coffee. You bring the mix." Within minutes, the monitor shows movement. The front door bursts open, officers rush in, and Aiden freezes. Confusion turns to fear as they cuff him. From Maya's room, Kira hears her baby cry. A female officer picks her up gently, whispering reassurance. Kira breaks down in her car, overwhelmed but alive. Back home hours later, Detective Rodriguez, a calm and compassionate investigator, listens to Kira's statement. As the investigation unfolds, a horrifying web emerges. Aiden has been having an affair with Simone Powell, a pharmacist. They discover a secret apartment Aiden has been renting, offshore accounts filled with stolen money, and 5 life insurance policies on Kira, totaling over $3 million. Then comes the devastating revelation. The sudden death of Kira's mother last year wasn't natural. Toxicology tests reveal potassium chloride poisoning, the same substance Simone had access to. The dinner Aiden cooked that night was her final meal. Her stroke was actually murder. Months later in court, Kira faces both of them. The baby monitor recording plays before the jury. Their laughter, their plan, their cruelty. Aiden can't meet her eyes. Simone sits stone-faced. When the verdict is read, guilty on all counts, Kira feels no victory, only emptiness and relief that Maya will never call that man daddy again. 6 months later, Kira and Maya move across the country with her sister, Tasha. She builds a quiet new life, working again as a nurse, surrounded by safety. At night, she still checks on Maya through a new baby monitor. Not because she's afraid, but because it reminds her of the night that saved her life. Kira ends her story with a simple truth. Trust your instincts. They might just save you. I didn't know it that night, but that baby monitor, that tiny lens, was the reason I'm still here. Aiden Williams used to believe he was in control. A smart man, charming when he needed to be, confident enough to convince anyone, especially his wife, Kira. She was the perfect mark, kind, trusting, hardworking, a nurse who never had time to notice details. For years, she worked night shifts, leaving him free to do whatever he wanted. He told himself he deserved more than bills and diapers. He deserved Simone. Simone Powell was excitement, beautiful, confident, and dangerous in all the right ways. A pharmacist with connections, she didn't just listen to his complaints about Kira. She fed his resentment. She told him he was trapped, unappreciated, wasting his life on a woman too tired to care. Aiden believed her. Soon the affair wasn't enough. They wanted a clean slate. And the only thing standing between them and that new life was Kira. It started with small talk. What if she wasn't around anymore? Jokes turned into ideas. Ideas turned into plans. Simone knew what to use, how to hide it. Tasteless pills that mimic natural illness. He told himself it would be painless, quick. She'd drift away, and no one would ever suspect him. The life insurance money would give him a fresh start. He never thought of it as murder. Not really. Just rearranging fate. The night it was supposed to happen felt ordinary. Kira kissed Maya goodnight, said goodbye, and drove off to work. Aiden didn't even look up from his phone. When he called Simone, his tone was casual. She answered in that silky voice he loved. "She's gone?" "Yeah, 8 hours, baby," he said. "Tonight's the night." They discussed dosage, timing, the coffee routine. He paced near Maya's room, whispering without thinking. He didn't know, couldn't have known, that the baby monitor was streaming, that Kira was watching, that his voice, his words, his entire plan were being recorded. When the door burst open 40 minutes later, the world collapsed. Police flooded the living room. For one terrifying second, he thought it was a mistake. Then he saw the guns, the shouting, the looks. He barely processed the words, conspiracy to commit murder. Maya's cry pierced through the chaos. The sight of her tiny body being carried out by an officer cracked something inside him. He shouted that it was a misunderstanding, that Kira must have set him up, but deep down he knew the truth. He'd been caught by his own arrogance, by technology he barely understood. In the holding cell, the reality sank in. They played the recording back for him, his own voice plotting Kira's death, the insurance policy, the dosage, Simone's laugh. He heard how cold he sounded. It didn't even sound like him anymore. When Simone was arrested, she turned on him instantly, said it was all his idea, that he manipulated her. He realized then how foolish he'd been. She never loved him. She used him. Just like he used Kira. The press ate it up. Baby monitor murder plot. His face was everywhere. His family disowned him. Then came the second investigation. Kira's mother's death. The stroke that wasn't a stroke. He didn't even argue when they told him it was potassium chloride. He'd followed Simone's advice then too. Practice, she'd said. Make sure it works. Months later in court, Aiden looked across the room at Kira, the woman he'd once loved, the woman he'd tried to erase. She was composed, steady, and terrifyingly strong. When the verdict came, guilty on all counts, he didn't fight it. Now in his prison cell, Aiden replays everything in his mind. The night she left for her shift, the moment he laughed, the baby monitor light he never noticed glowing in the corner of the nursery. One tiny blinking light that ruined everything, he whispers to himself. She always did have good instincts. Then he smiles bitterly. I should have unplugged the monitor. Simone Powell had always believed she was smarter than everyone else. In pharmacy school, she was the one who could calculate dosages in her head, who understood how chemicals could mimic nature, how a few milligrams could blur the line between life and death. She never thought she'd use that knowledge for anything outside a lab. But then she met Aiden Williams. He was charming in a tired sort of way, a man desperate for admiration. She met him when she worked the pharmacy desk at County General. He'd come to pick up prescriptions for his wife, Kira, a nurse on night shift. Simone noticed his ring, but also his loneliness. When he flirted, she didn't stop him. Soon he was meeting her after hours, confiding about his cold marriage, his financial struggles, his dream of starting over. Simone told herself she wasn't a homewrecker. She was helping him rediscover life. He said Kira never smiled at him anymore, never made time for him. Simone believed it. Or maybe she wanted to. What started as flirtation became obsession. Aiden made her feel powerful, needed, but as months turned to years, his money ran out, and his promises of a new life never materialized. The idea came one night over wine in her apartment. If she were gone, Simone said half-jokingly, you'd be free. Aiden didn't laugh. He looked at her differently, like a door had opened. He asked questions, medical questions, dosages, detectability. Simone, proud and reckless, answered them. That's how the plan was born. It was perfect in theory. Tasteless sedatives dissolved in coffee, symptoms mimicking a migraine, death appearing natural. The insurance policy would provide millions. They'd move to Bali. She'd start a clinic. He'd grieve publicly. They rehearsed every detail, except one, the baby monitor. The night Kira left for her shift, Simone waited by the phone, excitement mixing with fear. Aiden called her from Maya's room, whispering. She reminded him of the plan, 20 milligrams in the morning coffee, stir well, act normal. She told him she loved him, told him everything would be okay. She didn't know Kira was listening. When Aiden didn't call back, Simone assumed nerves had gotten to him. The next morning, her phone exploded with messages. Police outside his house. The arrest on live news, nurse's husband arrested for murder plot. Her name wasn't mentioned yet, but she knew it was over. She barely had time to pack a bag before detectives knocked on her door. At the station, she tried to play the victim. She said Aiden pressured her, manipulated her, threatened her career. But detectives already had evidence. Thousands of texts, recordings, and the worst of all, a message she'd sent weeks earlier after Kira's mother's sudden death, one down she had written. Just make sure the next one looks natural too. Simone broke down during questioning. She admitted to providing the drugs, guiding the plan, even celebrating Kira's upcoming freedom. But what destroyed her in court wasn't the evidence. It was Kira's composure. Simone watched her testify, her voice steady, her grief contained. There was no rage, no breakdown, just truth. And that truth painted Simone as the cold architect of everything. When the verdict came, 30 years in prison, Simone barely reacted. She stared at the floor, realizing Aiden had gotten life without parole while she, too, would spend her best years behind bars. In her cell, Simone replayed their affair like a movie. She saw every red flag she'd ignored. His selfishness, his lies, his greed. He never loved her. He loved the thrill, the way she made him feel clever. She traded her license, her future, and her freedom for a fantasy. Now the pharmacist who once believed she could control life and death sits in a concrete box counting seconds. She thinks of the little girl sleeping in that house, the blinking baby monitor light she never saw, the tiny witness that ended everything. In the silence, Simone whispers, "It was supposed to be perfect." And for the first time, she finally understands the cruel irony. The woman she wanted dead was the only one smart enough to survive. Her detective, Elena Rodriguez, had been with the department for 28 years. She thought she'd seen every kind of domestic tragedy, jealousy, greed, desperation. But the case that started with a baby monitor call at 11:42 p.m. my name would stay with her forever. The call came through dispatch. Female nurse says her husband's plotting her murder, claims she has a live audio feed from a baby monitor. At first, Rodriguez thought it sounded like paranoia. Then the audio file came through. Clear voices, calm and deliberate. The man discussed life insurance and dosages. The woman described dissolving pills in coffee. Rodriguez felt her stomach turn. This wasn't paranoia, this was intent. Within minutes, patrol units were dispatched to the residence. Rodriguez monitored the feed from her unmarked car as officers approached silently. The arrest went down clean. The husband, Aiden Williams, 35, no criminal record, was cuffed without resistance. Inside the house, officers found a 3-year-old girl asleep, unharmed. The wife, Kira Williams, was still at the hospital, crying through the phone line, begging them to make sure her baby was safe. When Rodriguez met Kira 2 hours later, the young nurse looked hollow. Shock hiding behind professionalism, Rodriguez admired her composure. "I need you to tell me everything," she said gently. Kira did. The marriage, the distance, The affair she hadn't suspected. The recording, everything. The next 48 hours were a blur of evidence gathering. The baby monitor app logs confirmed the live stream had been active. The recording was time-stamped and stored in the cloud, legally admissible. Aiden's phone was a goldmine. Messages with a contact saved as SP, later identified as Simone Powell, a pharmacist who'd once worked at County General, thousands of texts. Affection, resentment, planning. They'd been involved for more than 2 years.